what we do as a school to address bullying, and how we promote well-being, and what we envisage or the next steps for trying to constantly improve what's happening in the school. So first of all, to look at bullying, I prefer not to use the word bullying. Um, it's used a lot, but unfortunately children labelled a bully may sometimes live up to that expectation. And with any child, there is also a story. So during my experience as a teacher, when a child may bully or victimise another person, often they're being bullied or victimised themselves. And so it's being able to address this so that everyone can move forward. So what I prefer to talk about is how we address everyone belonging at BISC and how everyone is well at BISC, so well-being. So if we look at well-being, just a revision from the start of the year when I first introduced myself to you, and well-being, as we know, is positive emotions, the absence of negative emotions, satisfaction with life, fulfillment, positive functioning. And one definition that I really like is a state of feeling good about ourselves and the way our lives are going and the different dynamics in our life. Everything feels balanced. Our relationships are good. Our work life is good. Our social life is good. And as we know, if one of those areas is not good, it will often influence the other areas of our life. So we know that if children are feeling well and they're happy, that will reflect in their academic work. And that's what we're about. We're about children being their best, children progressing, and children feeling like they're welcome, they belong, and that they are supported. So academic achievement, if we want to achieve academically, well-being is the core. And that means that there is no bullying in the school. Otherwise, opposite to that, there is respect for one another. So how can we optimise our well-being? We know that with COVID, feeling good, if you're just feeling good and well-being, we want that as often as possible. So being emotionally intelligent, understanding why you feel a certain way, and understanding that's okay to feel that way. So that's what we want to also develop in the children. Having friends and positive relationships is really important. We want the children to have these skills, these social skills, to be able to develop friendships and to also manage them when things don't go their way. Understand and manage our feelings, I've touched on that. Having interests. At the moment, we are coming out of COVID. We are beginning to develop in getting back to normal. But having interests and after school activities is still in the next few steps. However, outside of school, having interests, having time to do something that you enjoy, and also having hope, feeling positive about the future, feeling positive about life after school, feeling positive about being in BISC and developing through the years at BISC, going into senior school, going into upper primary. And we can help develop that also through partnerships and relationships within the school. And having these positive relationships, well-being, belonging, not only in the class, in that classroom, but across the year level, across the key stage, across the whole school, and not just the junior school, but the whole school as in senior school and junior school. Something that I'd like to share with you is the PASS analysis. Okay, over the last 4 years, the school has collected surveys from the children to see how they're feeling about school. So PASS stands for Pupil Attitudes to Self and School Survey. Pupil attitudes. And it's about social and emotional well-being and how it is essential for effective learning. PASS focuses on 3 broad areas: how a student feels about themselves, self-confidence, their engagement with the curriculum, so how they feel that they can master things, how they feel they have the skills to be able to be creative, to explore, to be curious, to go as far as they want to go with their interests, and their feelings about school. So the PASS diagnostic is a powerful multifactorial measure of students' attitudes to school, learning and success. It's a 20-minute survey. Its robust nature enables the data it yields to be used as a means of establishing baselines, a starting point to work from, and to support effective planning, next steps, implementation, then implementing those next steps, and evaluation of interventions. What's the impact by the next steps? At individual students, group, and whole school levels. So the factors measured include feelings about school, perceived learning capability, self-regard as a learner, preparedness for learning, attitudes to teachers, general work ethic, confidence in learning, attitudes to attendance, and response to curriculum demands. Non-standardized or percentage scores look at the school on its own. They are the results of the survey from the school alone and do not include any comparisons with other schools. They are particularly useful for the senior leadership team with the school to obtain an overall view of how the students feel about the school as a whole, what they are satisfied with, and where they feel there is room for improvement. Percentage scores are shown in the bar charts. The non-standardized score is particularly useful when comparing two consecutive surveys to measure changes across time. So over the last 4 years, we can look at the bar graphs and compare them from academic year to academic year. So here we have Key Stage 2, Year 3 to 6. This was in January 2019, 344 children. The PASS factors analyse, which we went through earlier. And by looking at this one for 2018-2019, you can see that number 3, self-regard as a learner, and number 9, responses to curriculum demands, are just below 70% or around 70%. Girls are often also slightly higher than boys. And for number 3, again around 70%. But otherwise, all those factors there are quite high in the satisfaction. Go to 2018, 2019, up to 2019 to 2020. So again, looking here very similar to the previous one. Number 3, self-regard as a learner, and number 9, again slightly lower. This time again, just below 70% there and just below 70% there. Again, the girls are a little bit higher than the boys on most occasions. And then 2020, 2021, this is in November that this survey was taken. This was the year that COVID hit in March. So we've been quite a tough year of distance learning and so forth, and not being able to play with friends and do what we're used to doing. And again, number 3, self-regard as a learner, and number 9, responses to curriculum demands. Again, a little bit lower, around 70 or just below 70, and again around 70 or just below 70. And here you can see that the girls are a little bit lower than the boys for that one, whereas generally speaking they are higher than the boys. And this year, so more recently, just in October, again number 3, self-regard as a learner, and responses to curriculum demands, again around 70%. But what is positive, just looking here, is that it hasn't dropped. It's been around about the same, which, considering the demands of COVID, the bubbles, not being able to play with friends across the year group for a long time, also having a limited space, there's a few positives to read from that. Now, the percentile score is a little bit different. The colour coding used in the report should be interpreted as a guide to help schools see at a glance the levels of satisfaction that cohorts or individuals have with their school experience. Those found to be in the lowest, I think it's 5 percentile compared to the UK population, should be taken as an immediate concern for the school. The average range for the responses lies between the 16th and 84th percentile. Your PASS survey report interprets factor and item responses based on the following percentile values. So What we want is green, high satisfaction with their school experience. Okay, between the 31st and 100th percentile. Moderate satisfaction with the school experience is 21st to 30th. Low moderate satisfaction with their school experience is 6th to 20th. And low satisfaction with their school experience is lowest 5% of responses. So when we see red, it's alarm bells, or how can we support? And then orange also, it's alarming. Yellow is alarming. What we really want to see is green, and going down that way, it's the degree of dissatisfaction. So what the report offers is the whole cohort. So we're looking at key stage 2 here, but we can also look at gender, we can look at year group, we can split into ethnic group and so forth, special needs, EAL, year group and gender, ethnic group and gender, and the individual profiles. So what it does is for us is it highlights this. The surveys are sent to the teachers, and there might be some children who they're aware of who are having some social difficulties, but it gives them just an overview where they can look at that and see if there's any salient features that stand out that they're not aware of. So we can make sure we're supporting everyone who needs support, and as a whole school we can work towards improving wellbeing, improving belonging and wellbeing satisfaction. So here we have the year 3 to 6 overview for 2018-2019, January 2019, and you can see no matter which way they split year 3 and year 4, boys and girls and so forth, you can see here overall all green, but there was a yellow here for that particular group of boys. That's a very good result in the first one that they did. These percentile scores all green again. We go to the next year, 2019-2020, again all green. You can see sneaking into the different groupings where there is some yellow, which is starting to bring to us that there is some problems with feelings towards school or well-being in those areas. That was 2019-2020, or September 2019. When we go to the COVID year, there's a few more yellows and a red here for different groups, so we can specify on those, but it's not too much more than the year before. And then we go to the most recent, again all green, and then just a couple of yellow areas there, or 3 yellow areas that we can look further deeper into. But again, considering overall the wellbeing has been good throughout the 4 occasions that the survey was conducted, and considering we've had COVID and returning from COVID, there is an improvement made, which is very positive, and there are areas that we can focus on to look at next steps, interventions for more improvement within the school. I remember doing a survey in the school I was at when COVID hit, just as we returned to school with all the social distancing rules. And basically the results from that survey were consistent with a lot of research done. And that was that the pandemic, remote schooling and social distancing had a negative impact on children's social, physical and community wellbeing. And the key finding was that the children wanted school to get back to normal as soon as possible. And I think that's that would be consistent with the children in our school, and generally speaking. So it's made us realise and be grateful for what we have in normal times and how important friends are and social relationships. But we do really want, the children do, we want things to get back to normal as soon as possible. Okay, so when we look at these results, we can look at what supports our perceptions about your students and their attitudes. So the class teachers look at their results and look at the children and see if that does support what they already think, or their everyday interactions with the children and dealings with the children. Identify what does not support their perceptions, anything that stands out as that doesn't, I didn't think of that, or that doesn't sit right with me. Professional judgments to address what doesn't match your assumptions. and then continue to involve your students in any work developed from the past survey. So we look at assemblies, school councils, focus groups, individual discussions, and etc. And as we come out of COVID, that will be a focus for the next steps. So the area there, learner self-regard, that was lower, just a little bit of information on that. Learner self-regard measures a learner's long-term and overall view of their self-efficacy, which is how they feel, their confidence and working efficiently for academic achievement. Beliefs about self-efficacy can be defined as personal judgments of one's capabilities to organise and execute courses of action to attain designated goals. So we want to build self-confidence. We want to build children's deep belief that they're competent and can do anything they put their mind to. And that could be related to COVID, but as we saw, it was also evident before COVID. Describes learners' feelings about their ability to achieve success and the goals they have set themselves. So how can we help improve that with the children? We want to have a whole school approach. It's a coordinated whole school approach, so it's not happening just in year 1 and year 5. It happens throughout the entire school. That's why assemblies are so important, to help young people connect learning across a range of subjects. We can adopt teaching approaches that help pupils relate their learning to themselves and their everyday lives. So our learning process, using the IB learner profile, all of these values that are important within the school: communication, being principled, knowledgeable, risk taker, balanced, caring, inquirer, reflective thinker, and open-minded. And that comes into play in children's learning reflections, when they reflect on their work, and teachers' reflections. Class dojo points can be for rewarding this kind of behaviour and positive attitude to their work and values. And also teacher feedback. Teacher feedback can focus on this as they give feedback to the children. Congratulations, great energy. I really liked how you're curious in solving that, and you're a real problem solver. You're very resilient, and the children identifying these behaviours and are being rewarded for these behaviours that we know help us to perform at our best. Also working with learning partners, not always relying on the teacher, but trying to be independent, solve it ourselves, and also using our learning partners. And simple articulating our thinking, not just giving an answer, but articulating with a partner or with the teacher our thinking and especially in maths, our way of going about solving that problem. So explicitly identifying how we solve and our thinking and our learning process. These are some areas developed where, as inquirers, we are curious. We're knowledgeable, we explore. As thinkers, we are creative. As communicators, we are confident. We are principled and respect others. We are open-minded and accept that everyone is different and unique. We are caring, we are kind. We are risk takers, we are resilient. We are balanced, we take care of our well-being. We are reflective, we reflect. So this is more developmentally appropriate, and we're developing this as a junior school where we'll make it more developmentally appropriate for the early years, where we can bring in types of animals to represent, but the children can have a user-friendly way of identifying this type of behaviour that's developmentally appropriate. 3 drivers that come through in our school is community, which is, taking a back step with COVID, but community is such an important part of who we are, our BISC identity. Thinking, our cognitive, and thinking about thinking, being resilient, being curious, being creative, being energetic, and using these types of skills to identify how we can problem solve and work at our best. And values, how we treat others, respect, which ties in nicely with anti-bullying, is so valuable to belonging and to well-being and anti-bullying.